Hello, Chimbas. Diamond Dust here. So, we've kind of have a really good sprawl of rules when it comes to Cyberpunk Red. But does it ever hurt to have a few more? Especially when it really adds some new spice to your table that really gives it a new twist on how people can perform jobs. This new DLC that came out just today, July 14th, this is Going Quiet. Featuring a new character as well, known as Measure Twice. As somebody who has done both carpentry and baking, I love the fact that we are using that term here, especially for a stealth operative. And the story in here, it is actually following up on the story from Did Somebody Say Murder recently. So, Going Quiet, it's tools for heists, cons, and other stealth play. There are three major sections that I want to talk about, and those being Flash of Luck, Stealth Net Running, and all sorts of new gear involving one of my favorite con artists from Tales of the Red Hope Reborn, Harry the Shrimp. So, to start off, we're going to go to Flash of Luck. Flash of Luck was originally introduced in Tales of the Red Hope Reborn, which is $40 print, $20 PDF. But we didn't see Flash of Luck come out like some of the other rules before the book. And I was wondering why that hadn't happened yet. Surely it had to come out before Tales of the Red Hope Reborn. And here we are a few months later, and it finally comes out. So, Flash of Luck, it is a way to help your players get out of the planning paralysis. Because the situation with a heist, and we're talking a stealth heist, a lot of planning usually goes into these jobs. Months, weeks, well, and in the case of Tales of the Red Hope Reborn, days. Days. Leading up to the event of something big, where you need to be super quiet about this job. Flash of Luck gives players a special safety net to, in a sense, do flashbacks like Blades in the Dark. This rule helps prevent any serious hiccups from not being able to be worked around just because somebody had a lack of foresight on something. And the rules of Flash of Luck are very simple, and there's three big things here. A player can only use Flash of Luck once per beat and no more than 3 times per mission. So that means if you're in a certain scene, you can only use Flash of Luck once, and that's it. And you only get to do this 3 times during a mission. Given this means that if the mission is on the first half of session and then you get out, then you can. But this also just prevents a single player from burning all their luck and basically removing any consequence for not planning. I say this because when it comes to heists or like certain cons, you do have to plan, and you cannot count on Flash of Luck. Performing Flash of Luck, it is a standard action in combat. So, I remember one time I got in a real bad position during a gunfight with my fixer. And I decided to use Flash of Luck to have bought a trauma team plan. So that way trauma team could come and pick me up. Unfortunately, my fixer Skimmer, she did not make it, but it is one of those things where it took my action, but it was worth it. A player must spend luck points according to a table. And I will give you a really brief rundown of what that table is right after I talk about this last one that's very important. GMs have the right to veto a Flash of Luck if they feel it's too powerful or impossible. For example, you couldn't have slipped sugar into the gas tank of a car that you didn't know was going to be in a race. And there's no way that you're going to be able to hide that Militech Bulldog inside of a Netrunner's bodyweight suit. It's not possible. And I was pulling one of those examples out of, or I did my own tweak on one of those examples out of there, but you'll get the point. So there are guidelines when it comes to Flash of Luck. There is 3 different tiers of it. There is simple, unlikely, improbable. Simple are things that could have happened on camera during a previous beat, and it may have been a situation where, I forgot to ask if this was this thing at the vendit, or could I have possibly gotten this at the night market? And as long as the item is like 100 eddies or less, and you are able to have plausibly acquired this, that's going to cost 2 luck points. Now, given a GM can determine if maybe it's going to cost more luck points because of the improbability of it. An unlikely task, this could not have happened on camera during the previous beat at any time. And when I mean the previous beat, I mean at some point before the current one you're in. There's a chance that maybe you might have been able to come across a security guard that you would encounter at this place that you're going to heist. And they're a regular at the Wednesday night poker game that you go to. And you could have gotten the information from them then. Or there was a chance that you could have had something hidden in the facility while you're going through casing the joint. That would probably cost somewhere around 500 eddies, 4 points of luck, and then improbable tasks, which would require some remarkable foresight, or you being really lucky. You happen to know very specific things about an item you're dealing with. You happen to have visited this place at some point, despite the fact that you wouldn't have a reason to have been there during the game. Maybe it has something to do with backstory. Again, GMs can veto this. But the maximum spending on that is 1,000 eddies. But it does cost 8 points of luck. You have to have maxed out luck in order to have improbable tasks completed. That being said, Flash of Luck, it's super helpful at any point where it could have been, hey, GM, I would have had reason to talk to this person. Could I spend 2 points of luck to have had that conversation? What information could I have gotten? That's totally plausible. Depending on the plausibility is the big thing. Will depend on the cost of luck. Next up, which I am super happy that we got, is stealth netrunning. As someone who enjoys playing Netrunner, it's kind of bugged me that there's just been no way to actually keep yourself, hidden the entire time you're in the net from everything, including black ice, the automated defenses of the network. And finally we have it. So the way stealth netrunning will work is when you jack in, you roll an interface check versus any active watchers, as they call it. So watchers would include demons, enemy netrunners, and even rogue AIs, such as, for example, one that you'll encounter in Tales of the Red Street Stories. And it has to have some form of an interface rank. As long as you beat all of their interface rolls, they don't know you've logged in. And then stealth will allow you to just quietly plant viruses or snag files and then just leave without any issue. There is one caveat to all this. You still have to complete passwords, but you won't get you won't get caught off guard if, well, you don't quite pass it according to the rules currently. Unless there is an update that talks about how passwords do, this is the current version that we have. If you activate a control node, it notifies everyone with an interface score that you are on that control node. You break your stealth because you're choosing to control it. So, you might be wondering, well, what if I'm the defender in the net? In that case, then, you can take an action at any time, or take a net action at any time to do a sweep of the network. What this does is you roll a Pathfinder check against their cloak check. That's the two big skills that I'm so excited to see more of. Pathfinder is used to see things through the net. Cloak is used to hide you and your actions in the net, for anyone that may not play Netrunner. So if you're on the attacking side, you're going to want to have really good cloaking skills. If you're on the defending side, you're going to want really good pathfinding skills. This also gives Eraser much more bang for the buck, which I'm happy to see. Because Sia is always useful for any Netrunner to see what's going on. Black Ice. So Black Ice itself is an automated defense that immediately triggers when someone enters the floor. That's how the rules have normally ran with the core Cyberpunk rules. That's how we've always ran it. So that means it's either you're going to have to be really speedy and be able to slide away pretty well, or you got to have an ice pick deck. Ice pick deck means you're just going to break everything that any sorts of black ice that show up. So basically, packing a killer on that cyber deck, which does take 2 slots. It's hella pricey. Now, when you encounter black ice, you could roll a cloak check versus their perception check instead, if you choose to try to sneak by, as long as you're in stealth. And also, this is really important because this means black ice does not enter the initiative queue if you pass your stealth check. So that's one less thing you gotta worry about. You don't have to worry about sliding, and you don't have to. You could just use more eraser slots that can protect you from all the Watchers and the Black Ice, instead of also having to buy Speedy Gonzalez as well. Next up, though, is Watchers and Stealth. Like I had mentioned, you could use Pathfinder to spot attackers coming into your network. Any Watcher may roll a Pathfinder check to see if there's anything out there. This is demons, Netrunners, AIs, any of them. As long as they have an interface score. Yes, this also includes the miasmatasms from the ever so lovely Elflines Online Magic Returns. And this is one of the great ways to get a Netrunner, out of cover inside the net. Because if a Netrunner is just quietly passing by all the black ice, anything that the Netrunner bypasses, they won't get struck if they get forcefully jacked out. So if that Netrunner snuck by that Hellhound and that Giant, they're not going to get hit by them on their way out the door. And you can reestablish stealth. It requires you to jack out and then quietly jack back in again. However, GMs, if this is a Netrunner, like a company Netrunner that notices the Edge Runner's Netrunner coming in, they're going to be a little bit smarter. And I would say there'd probably be some form of a penalty to the attacking Netrunner for trying to quietly jack back in, rolling that stealth check, because suddenly the dweller knows that there's someone there. And then finally, I'm not going to get like into the nitty gritty of every single piece of gear here, but Harry the Shrimp returns with all sorts of fantastic gear and that lovely way that she speaks. I love Harry personally. She's one of my favorite characters from Tales of the Red Hope Reborn. I'm all about a good con artist. So the first things first is a binary compound, which binary compounds just chew through cover. But they only do a 2 meter by 2 meter square. So that one particular square you can just chew away with this really corrosive... I'm not exactly sure what's all in the binary compound. But it's super corrosive, but it cannot be used to attack people with. Don't weaponize it. However, you can also put it in a lock, make it dissolve. It just chews through cover, and if there's cover behind that cover, it'll also chew through that cover for 6 rounds. And it does that for 18 seconds, 6 rounds, and it's 6d6 damage. That's nuts. That's like the one that I was like, wow, this is really cheap, but really cool. We have branded jumpsuits, because of course, you sometimes just need a good disguise to sneak into that place. Varying jumpsuits or uniforms will really... It really depends on how you're going to get a hold of them. Because they're all actually a little bit tougher to get. Fixers would be your best source for getting these jumpsuits. So, to get low security, like maybe a Continental Brands Oasis uniform, you're going to need, 50 eddies and a fixer that can get you a premium, premium items, or technically 100 eddy items. But remember, the value may be different than the monetary worth, based on scarcity. Now, moderate security, like a hospital or a construction site, or some other facility where, there's going to be very specific people in very specific places that you'll stick out like a sore thumb if you don't have the right stuff on, and you could get in some serious trouble. It's going to cost you 100 eds, and it's considered expensive, so that's when you're going to absolutely need a fixer. High security. So say you're breaking into Yang's Wheels or some other smaller corporation. It's going to cost you 500 eddies, and it's considered a very expensive item to get a jumpsuit or some other piece of uniform to get you into that spot. And then extreme security. We're talking breaking into Militech, breaking into Ziggurat, any of the mega corporations. It's going to cost you no less than 1,000 eds, and it's considered a luxury item to get. So these are really awesome that we do have these disguises, and most people, if they notice you, won't give you a second peep. Unless you're doing something really weird. I think that's actually pretty awesome that we're finally starting to see a little bit more play with clothing instead of armor. Concealment sleeve. So perhaps you have a really chromed up arm and you're trying to get in somewhere, but security in some of these corporations, they will shell out for cyber scanners. That stuff that's going to notice all those guns that you have packed in your arms, all those blades you have packed in your wrists, and of course that cyber snake. This is a special sleeve that can be fitted over a cybernetic limb. So arm, leg, and it's ultra thin emitters wrapped in real skin to shield anything that's inside from being detected. Now, I could say it might be possible to get more for your body, but I imagine it's going to be at a bit of a higher rate because it's custom and not just an easy, sleeve that could be simply tailored for you. This next device, though, I think it's so cool. It's the handprint glove. You get a glove made from real skin, and it's imprinted with the handprint of a certain person you're looking for. So when you come across handprint scanners, you can put the glove, you can wear the glove, put it on there, and it will scan the hand. And each glove is custom ordered, and the tech must have the prints for it. However, you might be wondering, well, Diamond, how do I get those prints? There's this app for your agent called a handprint scanner. Now you can scan someone's handprint, and then boom, you have it. Or if you're trying to wrestle them, you get a DV13 brawling check. You have their handprint. If they happen to have left their handprint somewhere, like say at a table or on a door, you can also dust for it and then scan it. And then voila, you have that handprint, but you need 5 of those. And it requires for incomplete prints. Full print, DV13, you have it. Incomplete print, you need 5 with a DV13 for each capture, and then you'll have it. Either way, this is a very powerful tool. Next up, laser microphones. So it shoots a beam of amplified light, a laser, into a pane of glass upwards of 300 meters away. So you might be trying to catch a conversation that's happening in the building across from you. All you have to do is shine the laser into the window, and then you'll be able to catch the vibrations and hear them in audio. However, if it's foggy or there's smog or smoke, you will see the laser. Thin bulletproof glass cannot protect from it, but thick bulletproof glass can. And then next, for you Metal Gear fans, we have the Militech M97 Ghost Suit. Oh, I think it's so cool. If you sit still for a minute, 20 rounds, you cloak and you are hidden unless someone rolls a DV17 perception check to notice where you are. And for most mini bosses, that should be easy. Most security guards, they won't notice you. If you're a Deus Ex fan, or also a Batman fan, of course, for Poison Ivy, Nymph Perfume. It is a special pheromone-based aerosol that causes people to take a -2 penalty to human perception checks for an hour. And you can spritz it on you, but make sure that you have nasal filters or an anti-smog mask on, so that way you are not subject to it. Of course, to resist it, it's DV13 resist drugs and torture, and there's a cloud around you of 6 meters in any direction. So, 3 squares. Next up, the parabolic microphone. I'm not sure how it's pronounced or how folks pronounce it. I've heard it both ways. This allows you to amplify sound coming from a certain direction up to 30 meters away, as if you were next to the source. So, maybe you're trying to see what's going on over in the boss's office. You just lift up the parabolic microphone and you can hear it from a distance. And know that maybe you need to leave the office quickly. A professional disguise kit gives you a nice +2 bonus to personal grooming checks to appear as someone else. Really cool, but it does have limitations though. You can't, add extra cyber eyes. There's no amount of disguise kit that will do it. There's the retina lens, which overlays a fake retina on the user's eye, allowing them to fool retina scanners. And each retina lens must be custom ordered, which does lead to a retina scanner, which allows you to make these retina lenses. It's also an app. You record someone's retinal pattern and requires a DD13 brawling check to do so. This alone is crazy. This means you can actually just steal someone's almost personal information. Like stuff that is specifically them. You could basically be them with handprints and retinal scans that just get you past any form of security. Next up is the translation chip, which allows you to understand other languages people are speaking in, and it shows up on your Chiron as well. It's kind of like how in Cyberpunk 2077, V is able to get subtitles for how people are speaking to them if they're in another language. That, I think, is nifty. And I thought at some point we had an app for it, but I guess we didn't. Oh well. Maybe we just make like a poor quality version of this to make it an app. That might be fun. And then we have the Zetatech Tank Commander headset, which if you are trying to be super sneaky about, this thing wraps around your throat and it has an earpiece that is noise canceling. People can't hear anyone talking into your ear, but also your throat will, your throat mic will pick up on your sub vocals. And in that case, you could talk without saying a word too loudly. All these tools and all this extra stuff here is fantastic for us that like doing the job stealthy. And I gotta say, you need to get your hands on this. Until then, friends, goodbye! Hey Chumbas, I appreciate you guys tuning in. And as always, anytime you watch, it helps the channel. However, if you want to support what I do, or find me in other places, I'm over on Twitch. You can support me on Patreon and get early access to videos like this. And also, of course, if you want me to run a game for you, you can book me over at Start Playing Games. I hope to see you there. And as always, be safe. Bye-bye!